Hello, welcome back to part 4. I accidentally cut the last video off before I was finished what I was saying, but I actually didn't have a scripture for that one yet. But this one, the next girl, she is a performer in LA. She performs magic shows. She's got a pretty good audience because she's got a full show set. And she does this trick where she's dropped into a box, much like Houdini. But instead of trying to escape that, she's escaping chains before piranhas are dropped into this liquid thing filled with water. And she's got to escape. But her key to her trick is she's a master of distraction. She gets you on your moral compass to care, okay? So she start acting like something went wrong. Then the audience, their heart rate starts to panic. She starts doing all of this kind of stuff, making you think that she's in trouble, okay? So she does this, that, and the other. And she's trying to get out the chains and all this kind of stuff. And people are panicking because she looks panicked. Some people will use you and use your desire to care against you. This is what you call a victim narcissist, okay? A victim narcissist will try to play victim, that something's wrong with them, in order to situate the scenario to make it look like they are the hero of the piece. Then you will have a dominant narcissist, meaning this is usually the narcissistic characteristic that comes out after they've been caught. When they've been caught, they realize, oh, I got to dominate over you now. So I got to blackmail you. I got to do this. I got to do that. Some of y'all that have been waiting on kingdom marriages, that's another thing that's been holding up your kingdom spouses. They done hooked up with somebody that was like this that won't let them go. But don't worry about it. God's going to deal with that. So what happens is she does this trick. She supposedly only at the last minute, just before the piranhas are dropped into the case, they're released into the water. They start swimming around. And then the next thing you know, everybody's paying attention to the thing. They're like, oh my God, it's piranhas. They're piranhas. Oh my God. They're going to eat. Then the next thing you know, it's some red dye that was released in the container. That when this red dye is released, they start screaming, oh my God, she's dying. Oh my God. Because she was screaming in there. And then she was like, oh my God, the person that did this is so sick. They must be mentally demented. Everybody turn around and sees it's her standing there. And everybody's like, oh, yay. This can also be equated to the story of Paul and Silas. Paul and Silas were out in the courtyard. And the woman, who happened to be carrying a snake on her neck, just for story time's sake, was walking around them, telling them all of these beautiful things in which they wanted to hear. About how great they are, and this, that, and the other. And I believe it was Paul that turned and silenced her, calling out the demon that was within her. And her boss became angry over it. and wanted them to be arrested. Her boss was a Baal, and she was operating as a Jezebel. More so like Jezebel's daughter, though, who operated in an air of godliness, but no God in her. She used the wording that was positive to elude the person into going in the direction that she desired, but usually ended up leading them unto their death. This woman uses visual distractions to get sympathy, victim narcissists, thereby leading you into the misdirection. Your heart rate and all this stuff, all these kinds of things. Remember what I said about the phone scammer in the first part of this? They use all of your senses. A mother that gets a phone call from their child thinking something's wrong will do darn near anything. But your mind don't think logically to verify things if you're hearing somebody you love in distress. You're going to try to think of any way to save them. This woman was talking about this on the news this morning. She said, I had to call my husband and thank God he told me that my daughter was fine. But this is a sick trick. Now here comes the part. What does God have to do with any of this? Let me talk about it like this. I'm going to stretch out a little bit here. God uses the most toughest cases. I'll leave that right there for a second. Apostle Paul was who first? Psycho Saul on the road to Damascus? Oh, okay. Mary Magdalene was who? Oh, she was a poor prostitute that actually got the money together to pour the oil on Jesus' feet from all the people she was running around there sleeping with. The first person that was an evangelist to Jesus Christ was who? The woman at the well who had been sleeping with how many different men? Galatian man, how many demons did he have? Let's go back to Mary Magdalene. Remember how many demons she had before they delivered her from all of her demons? Oh, I was just checking. All of these individuals, before they were called into this situation, were doing dirty stuff. But the next scene, they realize they've all gotten a card. The guy, the night that he was trying to get into that woman's pants, operating in the spirit of lust, he got a tarot card that was a heart, because he said, oh, I'm a lover. No, he was operating in the spirit of lust. That was his issue. Potentially perversion. Yeah. Now, some might sit up there and be like, oh, it's tarot cards. We're not using the actual references. We're talking about the focal point here. These are the 4 horsemen. We're going to get into the 4 horsemen in a minute. But I'm recognizing each individual's card. The first one was the heart. The second one was the hermit. The third one was death. The fourth one was the high priestess. And if we're talking about narcissistic people, let's think about who that person is in the Bible. I already figured it out. Jezebel. When God calls you, he identifies you as who you are, and he doesn't particularly change your name immediately. These people were identified as who they were already. Now, one would say, why would the thief be recognized as death? That's going to come up later. But when God calls you, he calls you from where you at. He doesn't try to change you. He doesn't try to identify you from where you are and make you into what you're going to be. He's going to, over time, after he has groomed you into what it is that he's desiring to show you. These four individuals saw that there was a card and it had an address on it. The digits for the address were 444. Hold on, I'm going to show you what the 444 means. In the Strongs, it actually means, ironically, to be corrupt. Each of these individuals, when we first met them, were operating in a level of corruption. Morally. Immoral action. Okay? Each one of them were doing something immoral with their skill set. What was the first guy doing? He was using his gift to finagle women into bed. The second one was using it to bribe people to give him money. The third one was stealing from people. And the fourth one was scaring people with her shows. Now, what does it also mean? Fisher of men. 444 means fisher of men. And to trample underfoot. John 4:44. A prophet hath no honor. The statement that a prophet hath no honor in his own country is at the first thought a strange explanation for the fact he went to Galilee and the Galileans received him. These individuals, where they are known for or what they are known to do, they're all known to do underhanded criminal activity. So what happens next brings about a question of who these individuals are. Okay? Let's talk about it. So when Danny arrives in the cab, Henley, who had the priestess card, was walking up to the building as well. They arrive, they get upstairs, they end up in talking banter with the Merritt, and then Jack shows up last. And he's like, we all standing here because ain't nobody got a key. And he's like, you don't need a key. It's the other gift that Jack has. He knows how to open a door. Y'all didn't catch that. Some of y'all are gifted to know how to open doors for others, but can't figure out how to open it up for yourself. I'm gonna leave that right there. So he opens the door. They go inside looking like the Scooby Crew number 2, trying to figure out who in the world, how are we gonna get in here, and what we do. So they get inside, and the thief who unlocks the door, once they're in the apartment, it's empty. And like I said, they just like the Scooby Gang. But they end up in the living room, and there's this weird symbol on the floor. But next to the symbol is a glass pitcher of water and a rose. The woman walks over to the rose and picks it up and says, "A rose by any other name." She takes the rose and drops it in the water. The Lord showed me this. Now, a rose has come up in relation to kingdom marriages. Some of you, because of your kingdom marriage, God is literally positioning you to be in alignment with your spouse, that at the correct timing, you're going to come into alignment with your spouse to do what's necessary for the shift in what God needs. But you must partner with God first. These people have no idea who's directing them. Much like a lot of us, when it comes down to when we're walking with God, there's no physical being, person, man, that we're following. So to them, because they have no actual person that is their main contact, it's like they're flying solo, they're only following clues. Much like we do when we walk with God, we take his instructions through his word only, meaning whatever clues, whatever directives, whatever direction he gives us in this word, this is how we follow him. If he needs us to do something, we listen and we follow through the steps in which are given through this word. God will give us in certain seasons, certain instructions through dreams, through visions, through directions, through sometimes he'll send us prophets, whatever it is, in order to direct our steps in the direction that we need to go. Just like they were led, they got the cards, which was the initial direction to come to the apartment. Now, coming back to this kingdom marriage thing. Keys to the Kingdom released a word called "You Will Be Mine, a Dozen Roses, or 65. Some of you, it's the kingdom marriage that is the initiator to the shift that's necessary to bring about the answers that are needed. Next, Call Me Ruby did a word called Men Are Springing Forth Kingdom Marriages. Trust, Obedience, and Imagine Ministries did a word called Kingdom Spouse is in pursuit of you. Your God-ordained spouse understands that in order for what God needs to be done, he needs to come into agreement with what it is that God is doing in this season in order for him to move forward, in order for you to move forward. These 4 individuals were 4 individual people that knew nothing of each other except for Henley and Danny, who had worked together before. But they were 4 strong individuals on their own. They could handle their own by themselves. Catch that. But God is sending out people in partnerships, groups, cohorts. When Moses was sent out, he had Aaron. He went to get Aaron first, and then he had her. They were the ones that kept him throughout that journey. There are people that are necessary to come alongside you in order for what God is calling to be done. And he's just going to give you the instruction for your next step. Remember, I believe it's in Genesis that talks about when Abraham gets the instruction from the Lord, go to the place that I will show you. They went to the place that they were given the instruction to go to, which was the address to this apartment. Now that they're in the apartment, they're trying to figure out what the instruction is after that. She drops the rose because it seems like the natural thing to do to drop the rose in the water. The water pitcher starts to leak. The water goes into the symbol on the floor, causing the dry ice that was underneath the symbol to smoke up. They all back up. They're like, what in the world was going on here? What's this? Meanwhile, Danny's standing by the hallway and he looks to the side and he's like, what in the world's going on over there? Because he sees these bulbs and stuff attached to the door. And he hits the switch, but the light won't turn on. And I think it was Henley that said, what's going on with electricity? And Merrick turns around and he says, well, let's see. He turns the light bulb and it causes the lights on these doors in 4 areas adjacent in the room to go on and off. When this happens, it causes a hologram to appear in front of them. Let me explain this to you in the best way that I can. I don't know how far I'm going to be able to get into this because I ain't got that much space. You, as a child of God, you sought forth the things from the Lord in which you did not know. Daniel 2:22. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be made known or come to light. These schematics were only able to be figured out when all 4 of them were together. There are things that the Lord has given you and things that the Lord has given your spouse and people that are supposed to be working with you. Numbers 11:17. He will pour out his spirit. Let's see. Let me raise it. Is it on here? I know I put it in here. There it is. New International Version. I will come down and speak with you there, and I will take some of the power and the spirit that is on you and put it on them, all of them, and they will share the burden. These 4 could not do this plan had they not all been working together. And they were not doing this in public view. You did not see them again pop up with anything till 1 year later at their debut show. God put y'all in isolation. God put your spouse in isolation. God put the people that have the parts to the pieces of what it is you're supposed to be doing all in isolation. And at the appointed time, each individual was going to do what they were supposed to do with the information God gave them. And at certain points, he's going to bring you together with the information he's given you in order to build that next thing. In order for the parts of his plan to come together. So, he's preparing you for the performance. Luke 1:45. For there shall be a performance of things that which she believed. Get ready for the performance. I can't keep going because I don't have that much room on this phone. But I think I've gotten